Hello dear students, welcome to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and this is lesson 35, and we will be talking about the statement of financial position. This is part 1 of the senior high school constructive accounting. At the end of the video, you should be able to review balance sheet elements, differentiate current assets from non-current assets, differentiate current liabilities from non-current liabilities, prepare a statement of financial position under account form and report form, and we also have to try solving accounting problems relative to the balance sheet. Okay, so in the last lesson, we learned the topics that are covered in this subject, which is fundamentals of FABM2, and I have also introduced you what are the lessons that we'll be taking in constructive accounting and what are the industry-based lessons that we have in this subject. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. So according to International Accounting Standard 1, which is entitled Presentation of Financial Statements. So most of you, medyo first time tong marinig, ano po ba yung tinatawag natin na accounting standard? Ito po ay mga paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of guidance kung paano po ba tayo mag-a-account ng lahat ng transactions that you can encounter in accounting. How will you record cash? How will you record the cost of an equipment? How will you report an equipment after depreciation? Things like that, okay? So we are being guided by what we call accounting standards, okay? Which is under the generally accepted accounting principles in the Philippines, which is the International Accounting Standard and the International Financial Reporting Standards. Anyway, so that's just a quick overview of the things that you will be learning in higher accounting. But first of all, let's define financial statements. Okay, na-discuss na rin ito sa FABM1, so let's go back to it. Financial statements are a structured representation of the financial position and financial performance of an entity. If you would look at it, it's a structured representation, maayos na pagkakapresenta, okay? Ng alin daw? Financial position, which relates to the entity's assets, liabilities, and capital, and then financial performance, which is revenue and expenses. The objective of financial statements is to provide information about the financial position, financial performance, and cash flows of an entity. Remember that the objective of financial statements is providing information, and that's actually how accounting is defined, right? We prepare quantitative information, primarily financial in nature. Okay? Now, saan daw po makakatulong yon? It is useful to a wide range of users in making economic decisions. So the financial statements that we will be doing, so someone will use that, someone will read that, and it will help those users of financial statements in making proper economic decisions. Financial statements also show the results of the management's stewardship of the resources entrusted to it. Pangangalaga ng management sa mga resources na ipinagkatiwala sa kanila. To meet this objective, financial statements provide information about the entities. Okay, ano daw po ang makikita natin sa financial statements? Ito po yung mga elements na yon. Assets, liabilities, and equity na makikita po natin sa statement of financial position, income and expenses including gains and losses na makikita naman natin sa statement of comprehensive income, contributions by and distributions to owners in their capacity as owners na makikita natin sa statement of changes in equity, and syempre cash flows na makikita natin sa statement of cash flows. This information, along with other information in the notes, assist users of financial statements in predicting the entity's future cash flows and in particular their timing and certainty. Ano po yung sinasabi ditong notes? Yun po yung tinatawag nating notes and disclosures or the notes to financial statements. Doon po ine-explain lahat. Company information, ano yung mga accounting standards na ginamit, paano na-compute yung amount ng cash, ano yung nilalaman ng liabilities natin, things like that. Okay? So, next slide tayo. A complete set of financial statements comprises the following: a statement of financial position as at the end of the period. Take note of the word as at. Okay, ibig sabihin, hanggang dito sa period na to, ito ang assets, liabilities, capital ko. Ganun siya. A statement of comprehensive income for the period. Pansinin nyo yung pinagkaiba. For the period, ibig sabihin, for the period lang. Ito ang revenue and expenses ko for the period lang. Okay? A statement of changes in equity for the period lang din and statement of cash flows for the period lang din. Bakit kaya? Lahat ng nire-report natin sa comprehensive income changes in equity and cash flows ay mga for the period lang na items, unlike sa statement of financial position na cumulative dire-diretso as at. Bakit? Ang nire-report natin sa statement of financial position ay assets, liabilities, and capital. And remember, ang asset, liabilities, and capital real accounts yan na hindi dumadaan ng closing entries, unlike drawing revenue and expenses na dumadaan sa closing entries. Okay, you'll understand more of it when we go further with the lessons. Okay, sinasamahan po yung mga financial statements na yan ng notes comprising a summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. So, it is vital in preparing the financial statements na syempre i-explain din natin yung mga financial statements na pinrepare natin. Yung letter F ay pag-aaralan nyo sa Intermediate Accounting Part 3. So, wag muna natin guluhin ng mga buhay natin. Ang pag-uusapan muna natin dito sa Senior High School, A, B, C, D, and E. But we will focus more on the preparation of A, B, C, and D. Okay. So, let's review the balance sheet elements. Ano po ba ang nire-report natin sa Statement of Financial Position? Assets. An asset is a resource controlled by the entity as a result of past events and from which future economic benefits are expected to flow to the entity. Remember that an asset is a resource. Kayamanang pwedeng gamitin ng isang business. Okay? It's a result of past events. Bumili ka ng equipment, nagkaroon ka ng equipment. Ano yung past event? Kasi bumili ka ng equipment. So, may resource ka ngayon kasi may binili kang equipment dati. Ganun lang. Okay? Now, what do we expect in those resources? Future economic benefits will flow to the entity. As you use those assets, economic benefits will enter the entity. Liabilities naman, a liability is a present obligation of the entity arising from past events and the settlement of which is expected to result in an outflow of the entity of resources embodying economic benefits. Ang liability po ay obligations. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, the best way to translate liabilities into a very simple manner is utang. Di ba? Okay. So, it's a present obligation. Mga kailangan mong pananagutan mo ngayon yan eh, 'di ba? Present obligation. Pero saan siya nanggaling? Past events din. May past event kang ginawa para magkautang ka ngayon. Umutang ka dati para magkapera ka. May pera ka ngayon pero may utang ka. Ano yung utang mo? 'Di ba? Galing siya sa past event. Kasi ano yung past event mo? Umutang ka eh. Ganun lang, okay? And then the settlement of which, paano mo daw siya isa-settle? Paano mo babayaran? Gagamit ka ng outflow from the entity of resources. Talagang merong lalabas na resource from the entity para mabayaran mo yung utang. Best example, kung meron kang accounts payable, di ba utang yon o paano mo babayaran? Usually in the form of cash. So pag binayaran mo yung accounts payable, pag nag-settle ka ng liability, anong mangyayari? Wala, may lalabas talagang cash. Babayaran mo kasi siya ng resource, which is ang ginamit mong resource, cash. Okay? And then, equity is simply defined in the conceptual framework for financial reporting as the residual interest in the assets of the entity after deducting lahat ng pagkakautang. Ibig sabihin, kung ito lahat ng resources ko, babawas ko lahat ng utang ko, yun lang talaga yung akin. Yun lang yung dapat kong angkinin. Ang tawag doon, equity. Okay? Or capital, or owner's equity. Pag partnership, partner's equity. Pag corporation, shareholders equity. Ganun lang. Okay, so I hope that you understand kung ano po yung nilalagay natin sa loob ng balance sheet. Okay, so actually, the statement of financial position, the balance sheet, is a detailed representation of the accounting equation. Remember that the accounting equation is assets is equals to liabilities plus capital. Alam na alam nyo na yan, di ba? Sa FABM2. But in the preparation of the balance sheet and the preparation of the statement of financial position, ganito po natin siya pinapresent. We divide assets into current assets and non-current assets, and we also present liabilities into current liabilities and non-current liabilities. Okay? Ano ba yung mga sinasabi kong current, non-current na yan? no? So, tingnan muna natin ang itsura ng isang balance sheet. Ayan. Ganyan na yung gagawin natin ngayon. Medyo marami na. Credits to accounting coach for the picture that I used in this slide. Okay, so, ito po yung current asset portion. Ito naman po yung non-current asset portion. Ito naman po yung current liabilities portion. At ito naman po yung non-current liabilities portion. And then, syempre, yung natira, equity. Ngayon, wag kayong malito. Yung ginamit ko lang na itsura ng example dito is stockholders equity. Pang corporation po yan. But for our purposes, ang gagamitin lang muna natin ngayon is pang sole proprietorship. So, owner's equity lang muna yung gagamitin natin for this lesson. Tsaka for senior high school, as I know, yun lang din yata muna ang utos ng DepEd sa curriculum guide. Anyway, so, ang mahalaga, matuto kayong gumawa ng balance sheet. Okay, let's discuss this. Ano ba itong mga current, non-current na to? When can we say that an asset is current? An entity shall classify an asset as current when? Kailan daw natin matatawag ang isang asset na current asset? It expects to realize the asset or intends to sell or consume it in its normal operating cycle. If you would remember sa merchandising operations, pinag-usapan natin yung operating cycle na yung cash gagamitin pang purchase ng inventory, yung inventory ibebenta, pag nabenta na siya, magiging accounts receivable and then yung accounts receivable marireceive as cash. Okay? So when we say normal operating cycle, it's the normal business operations. Okay? Usually, the normal operating cycle of a company is 12 months, 1 year. Pero may mga companies or industries tayo na longer than 12 months yung normal operating cycle. So, ang ginamit sa accounting standard na word is normal operating cycle, hindi 12 months. So, whichever is longer na lang. 12 months o kung ang normal operating cycle mo ay mas mahaba, o edi dun ka sa mas mahabang time ng normal operating cycle. So if your asset is realizable or saleable or consumable within the normal operating cycle or within 12 months or whichever is longer, then that's a current asset. It holds the asset primarily for the purpose of trading. Best example is, ano ba yung for trading natin na asset? Di ba inventories? Ayun. Kasi nagagamit natin siya sa operations. Okay? And then, it expects to realize the asset within 12 months after the reporting period. So, after the reporting period, bilang ka ng 12 months, dapat yung asset marirealize mo. For example, accounts receivable. Ang accounts receivable, di mo na mahihintayin ng 3 taon yan bago mo ma-receive, di ba? Siyempre, agad-agad mong sisingilin yan, di ba? Sa mga customers mo. So, basically, accounts receivable is really a current asset because you expect to receive it within 12 months, di ba? Okay? 'Di ba? If you would remember sa ating merchandising accounting, ano yung nilalagay natin sa credit term? 2/10 N/30. O ano yung N/30? 'Di ba? Ano yung N/30? Deadline of payment 30 days lang. O 'di ba? Napaka-current nun, 'di ba? 30 days lang. O, ganun yun. Okay? So, yun yung sinasabi ko. And then, meron sinabi dito, derechahan na isang kind ng asset na talagang i-report mo as current. Ayan, yung pang-apat. The asset is cash or a cash equivalent unless the asset is restricted from being exchanged or used to settle a liability for at least 12 months after the reporting period. If it is a cash or cash equivalent, then it is a current asset. O yun na, diretsahan nyo na. So, walang sasagot sa akin na ang cash and non-current asset, babatukan ko kayo. Sinabi na sa standard yan, okay? That is under International Accounting Standard 1. Yun pa din po, presentation of financial statements, okay? So, some examples of current assets include cash. Siyempre, ayan na nga, nakasulat. Okay, and then we also have accounts receivable na nakakuha natin from rendering of service or selling products on account. And then inventories, ayan yun, the asset primarily held for the purpose of trading. Yan yun, okay? And then prepaid expenses. Pero depende sa prepaid expenses ha, kasi may prepaid expenses na longer than 1 year. So, depende sa classification. So yung first 12 months niya current, tapos yung more than 1 year pa non-current yon, as with the case of insurance. So hindi siya laging current asset. I-check nyo pa rin kung beyond 12 months baka kailangang i-reclassify as non-current. Okay? And then marketable equity securities, mga trading securities, mga assets din natin na pwedeng for the purpose of trading. Pag sinabing marketable equity securities, from the word itself, equity, stocks ng ibang company, no, na hawak mo na pwedeng ipang trade kung kani-kanino. Okay? Benta, bili. Kaya siya current kasi ganun kabilis. Okay? And then, office and store supplies. Alam nyo na yan. Office supplies, pens, papers, ballpen, anything in the office. Okay. Ngayon, napakadali po ng definition sa accounting standards ng non-current asset. Okay? All other assets that are not current shall be classified as non-current. Ganun lang kasimple. Kung hindi current, di non-current. Ganun lang. Okay? Dali nun ha. Some examples of that include, alam nyo na to, sanay na kayo dito. We have land improvements, building, equipment, machineries, intangible assets, investment property, investment in an associate, and investments in equity securities. Teka. We have some words here that are very new to you, so let's understand them one by one. Land improvements. Okay, land improvements are improvements in land. Okay, mga parking lots, mga pavements, mga fences, yan. You improve the land, no? Now, remember, ang land po ay hindi dinidepreciate. Kasi in reality, actually, in accounting, land does not depreciate. It actually appreciates. Sana all. Diba? Nag-appreciate. Sana all na-appreciate. Okay. And then, however, always remember that land improvements is depreciable. So, ang land hindi dinidepreciate. Pero ang land improvements na depreciate. Itong intangible assets, meron tayong mga asset na asset siya pero hindi mo siya nakikita. Hala, sir, paano yun? Okay, example. Copyright. Ayan. Patent. Trademark. Yan, yun yung mga franchise. Yan yung mga asset na hindi mo naman nakikita pero asset mo siya kasi may value siya, di ba? Investment property, ayan, mga paupahan mo dyan. And then investment in associate. Pag sinabing investment in associate, you are holding stocks from other companies, tas ang hawak mo dun sa, yung percentage of ownership mo dun sa company na yun, 20% or higher. So, kapag meron kang hawak na stocks na ibang company which is 20% or higher, then you will call that company as your associate. Pag sinabi nating 20% yung ownership mo dun sa company na yon, meron kang significant influence. Kasi pag tumaas na siya ng 50% and above, control na po tawag doon. So, advanced accounting na po yun. So, wag naman tayo masyadong advanced. Okay? Dun lang muna tayo. And then, investments in equity securities, halos ganun lang din. No? Parang mga stocks mo din sa ibang companies. Meron kang equity investment. Okay? Sa ibang company. May stocks ka na ibang company. Kasi gusto mong maging part of their world. So, bili ka ng stocks nila. Ganun lang. Okay. Diretso tayong current liability. So, halos ganun din naman. When can you say that a liability is current? Okay, it expects to settle the liability in its normal operating cycle. So, kung babayaran mo daw or isa-settle yung liability within the normal operating cycle, ayun siya. Okay, so current liability siya. And then, it holds the liability primarily for the purpose of trading. Best example, accounts payable. Pag nag-purchase ka ng inventory pero hindi mo pa bayad, anong entry, di ba? Debit, purchases, credit, accounts payable. Ano yung pinurchase mo? Inventory. And anong purpose niya? Trading. Ganon din. The liability is due to be settled within 12 months after the reporting period. Kung sakali man na hindi for the purpose of trading yung liability mo, but if it will be settled within 12 months, di current liability din siya. Like rent payable, salaries payable, utilities payable, yung mga accruals natin dyan usually yung yung kanyang classification. Okay? Pero kung more than 12 months, edi non-current na yun. Ganun lang. Okay? And number 4, it does not have an unconditional right to defer settlement of the liability for at least 12 months after the reporting period. Meron po kasi tayong mga liabilities na meron tayong right to defer settlement. Pahabain yung deadline. And usually, pag pinahaba pa natin yung due date, no? What if more than 12 months na siya? So, nagiging non-current na siya. Okay? But if the entity does not have the unconditional right to defer settlement, then automatically that is a current liability. Examples of current liabilities are trade accounts payable, short-term notes payable, salaries payable, rent payable, utilities payable, and syempre yung bayad natin sa tax na kailangan natin bayaran agad, which is current income tax payable. Kasi meron tayong deferred income tax payable. Pero tsaka na natin pag-usapan yung current income tax payable tsaka deferred income tax payable. Pag-aaralan nyo yan sa Intermediate Accounting Part 2. Ayan. Under International Accounting Standard 12, Income Taxes. Ayan. Okay. Pag nag-accountancy kayo, malalaman nyo lahat ng pinagsasabi ko. Okay. So, ganun din po ang ating non-current liabilities. Lahat po ng liability na hindi current, malamang non-current. Bonds payable and long-term notes payable po ang examples ng non-current liabilities. Usually talaga mahaba yan, more than more than 1 year talaga yan. Usually bonds payable mga 5 years, ganun, minsan nga 10 years, depende, di ba? Long-term notes payable, syempre notes payable na kabaliktaran ng short term. Okay, so more than 1 year. Ganun lang. Dali lang, di ba? Madali lang accounting. Kayo lang nagpapahirap sa sarili nyo. Joke lang. Okay. So, knowledge check nga tayo. So, determine if the following are current asset, current liabilities, non-current assets, or non-current liabilities. So, I will be showing you some accounts and then syempre hindi nyo naman masasabi sa akin yung sagot, 'di ba? Kasi hindi naman tayo Dora the Explorer dito. So, ipa-flash ko yung sagot after the account. So, bibigyan ko naman kayo ng mga 2 seconds para mag-isip. Okay, first, salaries and wages payable. 3, 2, 1. Salaries and wages payable po ay current liability. Hoy, kasasabi ko lang ha. Okay, next. Property, plant, and equipment. 3, 2, 1. Property, plant, and equipment is a non-current asset. Okay, next. Cash and cash equivalents. O, ito, paulit-ulit tayo dito kanina. 3, 2, 1. It's a current asset. Bonds payable. 3, 2, 1. That is a non-current liability. Trade accounts payable. 3, 2, 1. That is a current liability. Investment property. 3, 2, 1. Investment property is non-current asset. And last item, office and store supplies. Ano yan? 3, 2, 1. That is a current asset. Okay, so I hope you got everything correctly ha. Dali-dali lang yan. It nagalit eh. No? Okay, so this is an example of an account form balance sheet. So, pag i-distinguish na natin, ano ba yung account form o may report form na yan, no? Credits po sa My Accounting course sa ginamit kong picture po ng balance sheet. Okay. Pag sinabi pong account form balance sheet, yung assets po natin ay nasa left side, yung liabilities and capital nasa right side. Ganun lang. Assets on the left, liabilities and capital on the right. Kapag ka naman po report form ang balance sheet, again, credits to My Accounting course for the picture that I used, pababa po. Assets are above liabilities and capital. And then, ang pagkaka-present niya, pababa lang. So, assets, liabilities, capital. Ganun lang. Oh, ano mahirap dun? Okay, so again, when the balance sheet is prepared under account form, assets on the left, liabilities and capital on the right. Pag report form naman, pababa lang lahat. Assets, and then liabilities, and then capital. Okay, so We're ready to start our calculations. We will now prepare a statement of financial position. This is the highlight of our lesson. So before anything else and before we start, please download Handout 035 and the link is available in the description box. Okay, so access nyo lang yan, print nyo kung gusto nyo, or if you have access on the phone, o kung PDF naman yan, so I suppose accessible yan sa inyong mga phones and tablets. Let's start. Okay. So, the statement of financial position, syempre maglalagay ko muna ng heading. Name of company, name of the financial statement, and period covered. So, name of company is graduation company, and then name of the financial statement, statement of financial position, and then the period which is as at December 31, 20x1. Pwede namang wala na yung as at, pwedeng diretso December 31, 20x1. No problem. Okay, my friends, ganito gagawin natin. Ang binigay kasi sa inyo ay account balances. And then, gagawa natin ng balance sheet. So, ang technique natin, when you are being given problems like that, the only thing that you can do is to classify them first. Okay? So, katulad ng ginawa natin kanina, dun sa mini quiz natin, di kung ano yung nakalista dito ngayon, di ika-classify lang natin kung sila ay current asset, non-current asset, current liability, non-current liability, or equity. Napakahirap ng equity, di ba? Napakarami niyan. Okay? So, ganun lang din po gagawin natin. We will be going through them one by one. Accruals and other current liabilities. So, that is a current liability. Bonds payable is a non-current liability. Cash and cash equivalents, yan po ay current asset. Current income tax payable, yan po ay current liability. Intangible assets, yan po ay non-current asset. Investment in associate, yan din po ay non-current asset. Investment in equity securities, yan po ay non-current asset. Investment property, yan po ay non-current asset. Long-term notes payable, yan po ay non-current liability. Merchandise inventory, yan po ay current asset. Office and store supplies, yan po ay current asset. Other non-current asset, ang dali niyan ha, non-current asset, o ito, other non-current liabilities, di syempre non-current liability. Owner's equity, ito pa isa, pakahirap niyan. Equity. Okay. Prepayments and other current assets. Nandun na yung sagot. Current asset. Property, plant, and equipment. Non-current asset. Short-term notes payable. Current liability. Trade and other payables ay current liability, and trade and other receivables ay current asset. After you have already distinguished the kind of the element, so i-group na natin siya. The first thing we need to do, syempre, is lahat ng current asset. Okay? So, yung current asset natin na cash and cash equivalents, merchandise inventory, office and store supplies, prepayments and other current assets, and trade and other receivables. Di, syempre, dahil na-group na natin sila, gagawin na natin yung statement format. Charan! Yan na po siya. Okay? So, cash and cash equivalents, 2,500,000. Trade and other receivables, 1,865,000. Merchandise inventory, 2,789,000. Office and store supplies, 400,000. Prepayments and other current assets, 385,000. And then, pakitotal lang po lahat. Yun na po, yung total current assets natin na 7,939,000. Ginawa ko lang po siyang statement format. Ganyan lang po yung itsura. Okay? So, I hope you understand how to prepare the current asset section. So, pagkatapos po nating i-prepare yung current asset section, we proceed to the non-current assets. Okay, so yan naman po lahat ng ating non-current asset, which is intangible assets, investment in associate, investment in equity securities, investment property, other non-current assets, tsaka property, plant, and equipment. Baka nagtataka kayo bakit merong word na net dun sa property, plant, and equipment, tsaka intangible assets. Remember po, ang ating mga equipment, ang ating pong machineries, ang ating pong automobile, di ba po may depreciation yan? yan, tapos nagkakaroon po tayo ng accumulated depreciation. If you would remember our lesson on depreciation in the previous videos, di ba, we report assets at their carrying value. And for property, plant, and equipment, the carrying value is the asset cost less all accumulated depreciation. So kapag ka po nakita nyo yung net, ibig sabihin, bawas na yung accumulated depreciation. For intangible assets po, hindi naman depreciation ang tawag. Ang tawag naman po, amortization. So property, plant, equipment, net of accumulated depreciation. Intangible assets, net of accumulated amortization. Okay? So, gagawan lang din po natin ng statement format. Charan! Okay. So, property, plant, and equipment, 9,856,250. Intangible assets of 2,654,700. Investment in equity securities of 3,650,400. Investment in associate of 1,890,600. Investment property of 1,968,740. And other non-current assets of 600,000, which will give you a total non-current assets of 20,620,690. Tapos na tayo sa current assets tsaka non-current assets. So, ang gagawin natin, i-combine na po natin yung current asset tsaka non-current asset. So, pwede na po nating magawa yung total asset portion ng ating balance sheet. So, ganun lang. Lagay nyo yung current asset, lagay nyo yung non-current asset. Total current assets of 7,939,000 plus total non-current assets of 20,620,690 will give us total assets of 28,559,690. Okay. Then we proceed with our current liabilities naman. So, kinategorize lang po natin ulit. Doon naman na po tayo. For current liabilities, we have accruals and other current liabilities, current income tax payable, short-term notes payable, and trade and other payables. Gagawan lang din po natin ang statement format. So, ang itsura po niya ay ganito. Ayan. Trade and other payables of 1,562,890. Short-term notes payable of 320,000. Current income tax payable of 589,660, and then accruals and other current liabilities of 125,890, which will give you total current liabilities of 2,598,440. And then, after your current liabilities, we proceed to your non-current liabilities. Bonds payable, long-term notes payable, and other non-current liabilities, and then you'll also prepare the statement format for that. So, bonds payable is 5 million, long-term notes payable of 2 million, and then other non-current liabilities of 750,000 for a total of non-current liabilities, 7,750,000. Same thing that we will do in liabilities. Iko-combine na po natin yung current liabilities and non-current liabilities para mabuo na po natin yung liabilities portion nung balance sheet. So, ang mangyayari, total current liabilities of 2,598,440 at saka total non-current liabilities na 7,750,000, which will give you total liabilities of 10,348,440. Hindi pa tayo tapos kasi total liabilities pa lang yan. Remember, the other side of the accounting equation is liabilities plus capital. So, wag natin kakalimutan yung ating equity. So, owner's equity natin is 18,211,250. So, ang gagawin po natin, yung ating total liabilities, i-combine na natin sa statement kasama ng equity para ang mabubuo na po natin yung second part ng accounting equation, the liabilities and equity portion of the statement of financial position. Total liabilities of 10,348,440 plus owner's equity na 18,211,250. Total liabilities and equity po natin, which is same as the total assets, 28,559,690. Now, ang requirement po kasi sa inyong handout is we will be preparing the balance sheet or the statement of financial position both in report form and account form. So, ano pong itsura niya ng report form? Ganyan. So, syempre, hindi nyo ganong kita kasi ang liit, 'di ba? Pero, ganyan po ang itsura ng report form. Yung assets nasa taas, yung liabilities and equity nasa baba. So, papakita ko lang po uli sa inyo para mas ma-appreciate nyo. So, yung pinaka-heading, which is Graduation Company, Statement of Financial Position as at December 31, 20X1. Then, we start with your current assets. Okay? And then, we proceed also with your non-current assets, and then yan na po yung total assets. Tapos, dediretso tayo ng current liabilities. And then, ito naman po yung inyong non-current liabilities. And then, ito naman po yung equity for total liabilities and equity of 28,559,690, which is equal sila, di ba? Total assets 28,559,690, total liabilities and equity 28,559,690. Madalas po sa industry or sa actual practice, ang balance sheet po ay pine-prepare in report form. Okay? Pero wala naman pong kaso yung kung gusto nyo i-present na account form, wala namang pipigil sa inyo. Okay? Kung minsan preferred lang talaga siyang gamitin. Ngayon, pakita naman natin yung statement of financial position ng graduation company in account form. So, ganun lang po. Ang assets ay nasa left side and then liabilities and equity po nasa right side. Bakit po ba tinawag na account form? Tingnan nyo itsura. Mukha siyang T-account, di ba? Ang assets nasa left side of the account, yung liabilities and equity nasa right side of the account. And what makes it more interesting is, kaya siya tinawag na account form, ano po bang normal balance ng asset? Di ba debit? O di ba nasa debit side siya? Tapos yung liabilities and equity, anong normal balance niya? Di ba credit? O di ba nasa right side siya, nasa credit side siya? So, kaya siya tinawag na account form kasi mukha siyang T-account. Okay? So, yan po yung itsura naman ng ating balance sheet for prepared in account form. Okay? So, take nyo yung screenshots ng lahat ng solutions para pwede nyong ulitin yung handouts. Tapos, I suggest ganito gawin nyo. Since meron naman kayong separate handout, after nyong panoorin yung video na to, i-redo nyo yung handout. Kayo yung gumawa ng sarili nyong balance sheet. Dapat ang magawa nyo is syempre yung ginawa natin sa ating lesson for today. Okay, so ang expectation natin by this time, dapat marunong na kayong gumawa ng balance sheet. So, singit lang natin another knowledge, another additional knowledge is mag-try naman tayo ng problem solving na multiple choice. So, if you want to become a certified public accountant, you need to take the CPA board exam. And the CPA board exam is multiple choice problems. So, let's try some problems. 3 lang naman to, kayang-kaya nyo ito. Okay, let us try some multiple choice problems regarding the accounting equation and the statement of financial position. Problem number 1. Giselle Company has current assets of 4,350,000 and total liabilities of 2,890,000. If capital is 8 million, how much is the entity's non-current assets? A. 6,540,000. B. 9,430,000. C. 10,890,000. Or D. There is insufficient information that will not allow you to answer the problem. Okay, so pwede nyo muna i-pause yung video and then try to answer it first. Okay, so assuming pinos nyo at sinagutan nyo muna, so solve na natin yung problem. Okay, so ganito po siya, no? Ang given natin, meron tayong current assets na 4,350,000. Ang hinahanap sa problem, non-current asset. Pero binigyan ka naman ng total liabilities at saka ng equity. So, dahil binigay naman yung total liabilities and equity, pag-addin mo lang yung dalawa. Okay, so total liabilities is 2,890,000, tapos yung equity mo 8 million. Pag-addin mo lang, yun yung total liabilities and equity, which is 10,890,000. And remember, total liabilities and equity is equal to total assets, di ba? So, ang total assets natin, 10,890,000 din. Kaso, total yan. Ang hinahanap natin, non-current asset. So, ibawas lang natin sa total asset yung mismong current asset. Ang lalabas yung non-current asset na 6,540,000. So, the answer for problem 1 is letter A. Okay, we proceed with problem number 2. An entity has the following account balances at December 31. Cash, 890,000. Trade receivables, 450,000. Trade payables, 300,000. Land improvements, 700,000. Short-term notes payable, 100,000. Investment in associate, 1,250,000. Bonds payable, 6 million. If the entity maintains 400,000 worth of inventories at the end of every year, how much is the entity's current assets? A. 1,340,000. B. 1,740,000. C. 2,440,000. D. 2,540,000. So, pause nyo muna yung video, then sagutan nyo. Okay, assuming na pinost nyo at sana'y sinagutan nyo nga talaga. Okay, so here is the solution for problem number 2. Okay, mga kapatid, kapag binibigyan kayo ng sangkatutak na given, huwag nyo munang basahin lahat. Ganito technique dyan. In answering accounting problems, you read first the question, yung main question stem. Okay? Para alam nyo yung hahanapin nyo sa problem. So, for example, dito sa problem na to, ang basahin nyo agad yung mismong tanong. If the entity maintains 400,000 pesos worth of inventories at the end of every year, how much is the entity's current assets? So, by that way, alam mo na yung hahanapin mo sa problem, which is current assets lang. 'Di ba? Hindi mo na ganun papansinin, 'di ba? Makaka-save ka ng time. Kasi meron tayong mga accounting problems sa pagkahaba-haba, halos kalahati ng bond paper. Paano tapos ang tanong lang pala sa inyo, total cash. O 'di ba? Parang nagsayang ka ng panahon, nagsayang ka ng time. Usually sa accounting, we need to answer problems in 3.5 minutes. And that's just 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So imagine, 'di ba? So tsaka ko na i-explain sa inyo kung paano na-compute yung 3 minutes 30 seconds per problem na yan, per problem item. But anyway, that's the technique kung paano kayo mapapabilis mag-solve ng problem. Since our problem is just asking you about current asset, edi hanapin lang natin sa problem kung ano ba yung mga current asset. So, cash of 890,000, trade receivable of 450,000, and yung inventories na 400,000. So, medyo nilito lang kayo dun sa maintains 400,000 inventories at the end of every year. Ibig sabihin lang dun, yung inventories nila every end of the year, 400,000. Di ganun lang. Ibig sabihin, may inventory sila na 400,000. Nililito lang kayo nung examiner ng mga words na pwedeng guluhin yung utak nyo. Ganun lang yan, okay? So, ang total current assets natin is 1,740,000. Okay, so isa-isahin natin yung iba. Trade payable, yan po ay current liability. Land improvements, yan po ay non-current asset. Short-term notes payable, yan po ay current liability. Investment in associate, yan po ay non-current asset. Bonds payable po ay non-current liability. So, yan lang po talaga yung current assets natin. Okay, our next lesson ay sa income statement naman po tayo. The statement of comprehensive income. For all questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. Masipag po akong sumagot sa comments, okay? And then please represent your school. Mag-comment po kayo kung saan po kayong school, tsaka ano po yung location nyo. Okay, so may mga nag-comment sa akin yung nakaraan. They're from Aklan, they're from Cebu, they're from Zamboanga. Okay, yung mga NCR at tahimik eh. Okay, yung mga NCR people, paramdam din kayo dyan. Okay, so ayun, sana nakakatulong yung aking video lessons amidst this online learning that we have right now. Okay, so for webinar and speakership invites, please send me a message to kevintroy.chua1994@gmail.com. This is Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH. To God be all the glory, honor, and praise. Sa Panginoon ang papuri, pagsamba, magpakailanman. Purihin ang Panginoon sa ating mga buhay and lagi tayong magpapasalamat sa lahat ng blessings niya na pinapaulan niya sa atin every single moment of our lives. Thank you and have a great day.